Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at the AstroPub, and your facilitator here at the Captain's Table. What's the Captain's Table? This is a show where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe, and people have asked, you don't have to be a creator. You can just want to come in and talk. You just got to contact me, and we got to kind of work through, what's going on, like try to get you put on. Well, we talk about Star Citizen. We talk about some specific topics. We talk about general news. It's a talk show. It's a free form kind of chat that we have with individuals. And the second half, we always have question and answers. There's going to be a bit of a change if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube. This video will be released at the same time as the question and answers. They'll be both released at the exact same time, so you can watch them back to back. Because I want to see, it's just an experiment to see if that'll change things at all. If there's a kind of if there'll be a positive influence on those. If that's not the case, we'll try.
The algorithm is all governing, isn't it?
Algorithm is a pain in the butt. It needs to get. You have to appease it in order to get anyone to even subscribe to you to watch you. So we're, just keep that in mind, and also keep in mind that I'm recovering from COVID, so I sound like I've got like I'm very, very sniffly because I am, and my voice is still kind of recovering. So I'm fine. Everything's fine. How are you? In general, I'm doing good. It's just you'll note that with my voice. That is what's going on. With that all being said, let's introduce our guest, starting with Al. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
Now, as old man Hurston, I just thought that you were impersonating me there, Paulie. And I always say, impersonation is the highest form of, of praise. So I am old man Hurston. And also Algared, one of the Info Runners, best known for our Fix My Fleet series. But we also speculate on everything in terms of Star Citizen, politics, world, how we'll do things. But best known for Fix My Fleet.
Awesome.
Pretty much it.
And I think you also find Al on the other channel I do, the Astro Historian, where
I forgot about that. The
Lore Citizen podcast, which we'll do it again at some point. We've had some issues, is the issue been in scheduling, but we'll be doing it again soon. So,
General Mr. Crapshot, I call it Chrome Dome.
Yeah. And next we have the Prince of Pluto, Emperor of Uranus, Mr. Darjanator. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And Darjanator, I should say. Darjanator. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Hello, I am Darjanator, as has been previously mentioned, also known as Darj. Usually you can find me on the Reddits with a big bag of popcorn, just reading the comments and laughing at the idiots. But other than that, I sometimes create stuff in the Star Citizen universe. I created this overlay for Paul, which has been used extensively. I also sometimes appear on Paul's other channel, the Spice Must Roll, where we're currently playing Star Trek Adventures. Excuse me. He plays the Captain, Nemean Burrs. I play a Lieutenant Junior grade Nolan Voss. Paul, something you know, you were missing last episode.
I was
because of reasons. COVID. Off camera, I snuck into your ready room and stole this from your wall.
Okay,
so
dun dun dun.
Gotta know that. There we go.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to be getting that one back. But other than that, I also work closely with a company called JRDF, the official producer of Star Citizen model kits, which will be coming very soon. Will be coming back because right now there's a secret project we're involved in that is taking up all the time. So the kits had to take a bit of a back burner, but everything that we have in stock that has been printed is still for sale. Yeah, that's me.
Nice. All right, let's get started to the topic at hand. This is something that's been talking about a lot. I actually did another video on this recently, talking about what's going on and everything we know about 318. But with the recent discussion with Benoit and Jared on the latest Star Citizen Live, or sorry, Star Citizen, basically Star Citizen Live, but inside Star Citizen, talking about persistent entity streaming, or PES. I figured it was a good idea to sit down and talk. What is this thing? How will it affect Star Citizen, and how will it affect Star Citizen in 318, and how will it affect the game in the long term? To get people more of a context of what's going on with PES. And all three of us have been following this game for far too long. We are all very veteran backers, so we'll give you a little bit.
I had a full head of hair when I started.
Yeah.
Well, it's not true, but
I was clean shaven when I started.
Yeah, I was but a babe in the womb when this project was, and now I am 47 years old and 7 kids and a mortgage. But no, let's start with you, Darjan. This is your last to introduce yourself. Based off of what you understand about PES, what is generally PES?
PES is a way for the DGS, the dedicated game server, to interact with the entity graph, which is a graph-based database of every item and ship and piece of clothing and coffee cup and everything that can be interacted with in the verse. So the persistent entity streaming is the mechanism with which it loads and unloads those things where they're supposed to be, and unloads them, so the dedicated game server doesn't have to spend like terabytes of memory tracking everything when it doesn't need to, when there's nobody around. So yeah, it's like an upgrade to server-side object container streaming, which saved on CPU cycles, but everything still had to be loaded in memory, and this is gonna just free up memory and more resources and everything. So that's how I'm understanding it. But if you want to know what the entity graph is, there's like hours and hours of video from CitizenCon, and it's like
we're not gonna dip into the entity graph stuff, because that is a technical side of things. All you need to know is that it's persistent.
That is also like vehicle design guy. Man, I'm really bad on names today.
John Crew.
John Crew. His reaction to the Endeavour.
Yeah.
No.
It is basically the next iteration of iCache, when they realized that iCache was not going to cut it. But I find it interesting that it is a graph-based thing, because a lot of graph-based things have been making headroom. Like you have DaVinci Resolve, which is a graph-based editor that is, some say, a lot better than Premiere. Then you have another graph-based After Effects competitor that the movie industry has been embracing over After Effects. It's so graph-based databases. So it's interesting to see that that's where the technology is progressing.
I believe there's something similar with the AI system. The AI system is graph-based as well for Star Citizen. So there's a lot of graph-based stuff going on.
Machine learning and that's everything that's all graph-based as well.
Yeah. So, Al, anything you'd like to add about PES? Anything that you think people might need to know about it?
Well, I think the big thing is that when it comes in, because as Dodge said, it will enable the computer not to put it in if it's not there. It just puts it in a file. That will free up memory, and so I think we'd see improvements to frame rates and the rest of it, just like we did when they brought in the container system. So I think we'll see an improvement, but I think the big problem is, which Benoit talked about, was the cleaning up the rubbish, because you only have to walk around Hurston's trains to find the amount of rubbish, and I'm sure. And someone was saying it was the same on ArtCorp and Microtech. And interestingly, I was in the Maria Pure of Heart Hospital the other day, and you know how many gowns I saw? One
One.
gown on the floor. On the trains, there was 50 million of them. Maria Pier apart, there was one.
So they have a very diligent janitorial staff, whereas the trains are just left to.
Well, only in the hospital, only in the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll add to that is that the other thing to remember about it is that it is persistence. Someone asked, so is this persistence? It is persistence. It is how all of the information is going to be stored for your character, and it'll allow your character to have that information jump from server to server. It'll also save
if it's stable.
If it's stable.
It has to be stable, because right now the problem with persistence is that once the DGS, the dedicated game server, crashes, then it forgets where all the loose items are.
It goes back to the last save point. So
yeah.
But with the persistent entity streaming, all of that is going to be saved in the graph.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird way of saying the cloud, but it's the same thing. And then when it needs to, it will ask where something is supposed to be, and then it'll draw it and then load it. Yes, but if the database also has issues, then it's not going to be persistent.
Yeah.
And there's going to be they're going to, hopefully at least they'll have like hourly backups. So if the current live interactable graph corrupts, they have an easy way to pull a stable copy from somewhere.
But it should allow for persistence on servers, and because it's taking a lot of the performance off of DGS and onto its own backend, it should allow for increased performance boosts for the servers as well. So you won't have derpy AI as much, and it'll allow for more AI per server, because the only thing the DGS has to pull is what is the entities that are around it. Nothing else that's saved. All that is somewhere else.
And it has a lot more headroom to deal with the actual simulation instead of tracking where everything is. Yeah.
And that, I think that comes into the part why it's important for 3.18 and beyond is without PES, Star Citizen can't function.
Without
or something similar
function of PES, Star Citizen can function. Yes, it doesn't have to be PES if they come up with a more efficient and better way somewhere down the line that it can replace it. It doesn't specifically have to be PES. Yes.
No, but
as Benoit said, this was what was needed before server meshing could come in. So that was a fairly big step. The other thing that I really took out of Benoit was Benoit's. Try and say his name correctly if I'm saying it right.
Benoit Beauséjour.
Yeah, him. Benoit. Oh well, I can't even remember the second one. So
Bolt. It's a lot easier than Benoit Beauséjour.
I'll have to remember the both names to be able to say it. I just remember Benoit at the moment. But he was talking about if you blow off a door of a hab of an outpost, that door will remain blown off until you either repair it or build a new one. So that has ramifications for gameplay as well. You go to those rescue shelters. You're running out of oxygen. You finally get to the shelter and some bastard has blown off the door.
Yeah.
No oxygen.
Oh, right. Especially once they also have the atmosphere transitions between rooms. Yeah, because that's also missing. But yes.
You blow off the the airlock. That rescue center is now useless.
Interesting.
Darsh, do you have any other ideas that you can pull out for like some of the impacts we can have on, say, gameplay? Because that's a good kind of transition to that sort of discussion.
Yeah. Let's see what. I wasn't expecting this question, but
I can go.
First aid. The nefarious first aid companies ruining all the rescue centers around them, and then people get in trouble. They go to the center. They have to set out a beacon for salvation. So the corrupt company comes in and saves them.
Oh, okay.
There you go. That's piracy with a salvation loop.
but then of course that opens up the possibility of mission types where you have to go and fix the door, and you have to go fix the medical dispensary and stuff like that. So Yeah,
Well, even restock
once
the medical dispensary.
Yeah, or that, yeah. One, especially, or people's ships or NPCs' ships that have medical beds that will soon require supplies to run those medical beds. But yeah,
Mm.
it's like once persistence entity is not gonna enable that yet. They need to also let us change the world around us. Because right now almost everything's indestructible. We can't affect much other than people. You can kill people, but
Well, that's another part though. Like your ships, your personal ships, the last status of any outpost. So like if you leave a gun in an outpost, that gun is going to be there until someone picks it up. So you could say hide something in an outpost, come back to that outpost after everyone's gone, and pick it up, and use that sort of thing. So there's more. And the other ramifications is your location. No longer will, when you crash, you just disappear. You'll go up to the last time the replication layer saved your location, instead of just showing up at a station or whatever the last.
Yeah, it kind of works. Kind of works now if you're quick enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you manage to get back into
the same
server before it wipes your slot. Yeah.
Yeah. And that'll have an impact on, like, if it's remembering which server you're on and tries to put you back in that server. That'll also mean you don't have to worry about whether your gun that you'd put in this place is going to be in that location, because it will be. Whereas if you might be in a different server, because Ben was talking about if you blow the door up on this server, my impression was it'll be on that server all the time. So if we've got shards, like different regional shards, and I hope they kind of change that, that would impact. But another problem with that I see,
I think that it will progress with maturity and capability of the technology. So start small and then continue making bigger and bigger shards. So you get as many people playing in the same instance as possible.
Yeah, and we know that with the server meshing, the idea is it's one kind of area, but as the area gets more people, you kind of just shrink the area where those people are to keep if I'm understanding it right, to keep
that is the static server meshing applying, but eventually the dynamic server meshing is going to follow a person or a group of people as they go around. So
and so if you drop out of your group, you'll come back into a group, and all that stuff. So.
Well, I mean, I could definitely see with PES that they'll try to do their best to keep you on the same server as much as possible. It's not necessarily that you're going to be stuck to a shard, because for those of you who don't know, PES is the shard system. It's the beginning of the shard system as well, because it'll start tracking servers individually as individual entities that they need to load back in when they crash. So when a server crashes, it doesn't mean that everything on that server is wiped. It means all of that stuff should have a saved state at some point, and then when that server reboots, all of that information goes right back to that server. So servers will now have a life beyond the initial crash. So a 30K doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means that the server crashed. It doesn't actually impact the universe. Like if you were on a ship and the server 30K'd, then when you get back on, when that server goes back up and you come back into the game, your ship is still in the location you left it at, which creates other problems because now you have every ship that everyone ever abandoned is everywhere in the servers, and it's
God. but like, so imagine.
Well, there's a game loop for you
to reclaim those ships.
Go on, Doug.
Yeah, well, imagine where you're gonna have to go if you, like me, want to eventually just live on your ship, right? And then you park your ship somewhere, whether it's an OM point on the surface of a moon or surface of a planet or somewhere in deep space, and you log out. What if somebody stumbles upon it?
Then you're screwed.
Yeah. You think if you did that out of reach of anyone else to see, then basically nobody knows where you did it, and you may as well have you just not exist as far as they're concerned,
Yeah.
right? Because space is so big. Um,
I
if it's
go ahead.
But I think I remember them saying something about that being reserved for smaller ships, but big ones, those are gonna stick around because more people could use them as their spawn points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even
go ahead.
I got the impression that all the ships that have been sold will eventually be able to despawn if there aren't people around in the area. Or they'll certainly have safe areas where they can go so you don't lose them. Otherwise, just for that. But the ships that aren't sold, the bigger ships, certainly there'll be problems. But even with the larger ships, even say a Connie, you've got 4 people on the Connie. All 4 people would have to log off before it could despawn. If there was someone around or in that ship, it'd still persist until there was no one in that region. So you could log off, but if someone got you on scanner, does your ship?
And we don't know if that's
that
features. We don't know if that feature is going to be in the game with 318 because they haven't mentioned anything.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
of course, no, probably not. No, but like if you log out,
we are talking down the track.
Down the line.
But I'm guessing if you log out in your ship, and then that area gets streamed out because nobody's there, you'd imagine that your ship also gets streamed out and doesn't stream back in until you log in as a player on the ship.
Yeah.
But then that raises questions in terms of if you've logged out and someone's got your ship on scanner, so your ship doesn't disappear. What happens when they board it? Do they find you? Do they find an NPC? Do they find? And then they take your ship or blow your ship up. What happens when you come back? So lots of just nasty, horrible things to.
Lots of
Nightmare
gameplay
quagmire.
aspects. Yeah.
And quagmires too.
And all of these edge cases and all of these small details that we get to pontificate on is the reason why it's taking so damn long, because they know about everything that we are coming up with, and they have to account for that.
Yeah,
it is a freaking complex system.
So let's get into the next topic about that then, and then we'll move on to more of the long-term ramifications of 318 or of PES. What does this mean for, say, the release of 318? Because we know PES is the main system that's in place for 318. It's one of the pillars, as CIG will call them. It's one of the main aspects of the game. Not necessarily PES, but persistence is one of the main aspects of the game, and PES is how they get that persistence. Right now, at least. So, what might that mean in terms of should people set expectations for things like Evocati, PTU, and release for 318? Should it even be this year? Do you think that 318 will release because of how complex? We've already talked about all the edge cases and the other kind of things it touches on. Al, what do you think? What do you think should be the right expectation?
I think if we don't work out how to clean up the PS, we'll have Lagville, Macro Lag, Arc Lag, and Ori Lag as the spawn points in Stanton. Because lag would just become such a major issue with all the junk that people drop. Like, just look at how many gowns we see at the moment. But if you've got cans and cups and ammo cases and ammo cartridges and everything else being dumped everywhere, that's going to need to be cleaned up. And if it's not cleaned up, it'll eventually, and it's an area where we are going, so it's not an area where you can say, it's not needed because no one's here. You can get rid of it. That will cause eventually lag issues.
What they need to do, especially on stations and landing sites, is have a very grumpy janitor. They're just walking around with a broom and just pushing all these boxes in front of them and muttering under his breath, about these damn entitled space jockeys. Just they think they can
Stockpile it,
just
yep.
dump. Yeah,
And his
TNG,
name is
if you're
Darian.
listening,
Yeah.
if you need someone to
Well,
do
well,
the
well, now-
mocap, I am
now,
the
Dodge,
janitor. I am the janitor.
I do remember, Dodge, you were saying if I can't find someone to do a clean in the bar at Hurston, you'd be the man.
Yeah, exactly.
Darj, what do you think?
Everyone wants to work for old man Hurston. See, the Hurstons aren't that bad. Paulie
That's what I
works
think.
for them. Dodge wants to work for them.
There we go.
And that just said, right, yeah, whatever.
Darj, what expectations? Or I'll go back to you, Al, for like, do you think we should expect even Evocati, say September, or should we? Are we talking some Evocati like even longer than that? Would you be willing to guess any kind of dates for release for 3.18 in its various stages?
I think with Evocati, I think the sooner you get the stuff into there, it just it increases the testing bed. So anything you got in the test universe just increases the ability to test and see the impact as you get more people in.
Okay.
So I could see it getting into PTU, so you get that mass testing. Possibly, if they do it around Christmas, I could see it having that test bed over that long Christmas break like they've done in the past, which is a nightmare for most players because it's usually broken and janky.
So you're
but
thinking,
I think the longer but because it's such a big patch, the longer they keep it back and keep working on it and polishing it, the less it's going to have that negative impact for us. So,
okay, so you're thinking like we're not even going to see 3.18 this year. Like it's going to come out next year. We're still going to be in PTU testing phase, but by the end of the year is what your expectations are.
Yeah, look, if you take the long view and you take the negative, if you don't set your expectations high, when something good comes along, you go awesome.
Yeah.
But if you set them too high and say, it's coming out tomorrow, and then it
Yeah.
doesn't come out, you're dejected and shattered, and so.
All right, Darjanator, your thoughts on this expectations. What should people be setting their expectations for Evo, for PTU, even in terms of dates? We already kind of set the expectation of everything's on fire, but what's the any kind of expectations people would have for release?
In terms of dates, I really don't want to say, but it's not going to be as long as some people say, because at least in terms of persistent entity streaming, I believe the version they're planning is basically going to be almost the same as what we have now, except after a 30K, things will stay where they are, instead of be a completely squeaky clean wiped server. None of the things that we discussed before that persistent entity streaming is going to allow for will also come online with the first version, I believe. It'll just be to make sure that the system works the way the game is running
They
now.
want it to.
And then they're going to start enabling more features to let us modify the verse and put more stress on the system, so more different types and more different types and more different or just more changes to the entire universe around us that we're able to do. In terms of other things, and there's a lot of things that have been that we've been waiting for a long time and that are coming in, that are supposed to come in 3.18, and those may, in fact, increase the wait time a bit more, like the cargo refactor and the salvage. That cargo and salvage. How many years has it been since we've been first promised that?
Every year for the last 3 years.
Every year for the last 2 years.
Long time.
Okay.
Such a long time I can scarce remember.
So you think that we're likely, like, the PES isn't really the issue as much as all of the other stuff that's going to add and make this a longer thing? Because do you think the PES we're going to get is like PES 0.0?
Yeah, Tier 0.
Like,
That's
tier
what
0.
they usually do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it will basically, the game in terms of basic functionality is not going to change much. What the game server have to track now where we leave our ships when we log out, or the boxes of countless boxes of medical gowns that you can actually sell for money. Chat, stop doing that. Go to the pharmacy and sell them.
Can you sell them in the pharmacy now? Because you used to have to go to a clothing store to sell those gowns.
Oh shit! Yeah, no, it's the clothing store. Yeah, you're right. It's a clothing store, but still, it's free money.
CIG, fix that.
You get it for free. Free.
Yeah, fix that.
Medical gowns should be. It'd be nice if the hospital actually had. They were, a place where you could sell them, so they went to the laundry.
Yeah, you drop them off.
Yes.
You drop them off. You get
drop them
UEC.
drop them off at the laundry.
Yeah.
I think once we get the more physicalized inventory, we will have to, in the room where we wake up, there will be a locker where they put the armor they found us into, if we did die inside an armistice zone the way it is now, or the basic bitch loaner armor that we get. So we have to change there and leave the medical gown behind, and that's kind of they're hopefully gonna fix that issue from the start.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can continue on my prediction because I think I have a spicy take. I think that we're going to get 318 this year, whether we like it or not. Meaning, CIG is going to release it because they got to release it, not because it's good, not because it's ready.
December 23rd.
We may not have a 319 patch, but we're gonna have a 318, and they may just kick it out, shut the doors off, shut the lights off, and say, "See you in 2 weeks. Enjoy the fire," and then
which is from a gameplay point of view, they should do that as a public PTU that is constantly on fire.
Yeah.
And they have all the logging enabled. But they still leave us a stable life patch. That would be a good way to go around it, so we can still play the game how we like on a stable branch, but also if we want to warm up by the fire, we have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And they've done that in the past. I have done that in the past.
They have done that in the past.
And that was what that was kind of where I think they'll go. They'll put it and then go on the break, and they'll get all that data and all that analytic stuff, and they'll be able to go, oh, right, it's broken here. Oh, it was working there. Okay, let's see what was happening. So it's the nature of development. It's going to take a while.
I do. But I don't think CIG's marketing team, CIG is not even.
Excuse me.
CIG's marketing team and CIG as a development team can really
sometimes they don't seem to talk.
Well, I don't think they'll pass up the opportunity to what they're gonna do is I think they're shooting for 318 releasing at Invictus. I think that's their or not Invictus, IAE. I think IAE is their goal. And I think they may not make IAE, but I doubt that it'll go beyond that. I think they're going to have Evocati by the end of September. They'll have PTU by mid to late October, and then they'll go from the open PTU by IAE or at IAE, or go live at IAE. And if not, a little bit around that, and then they'll drop a 319 patch, which is pretty much 318.1, with everything that was they were originally planning on 319 being pushed to another actual 319.
Well, we currently don't know what 319 is because according to the roadmap, it's blank.
We know one aspect, which is the Arena Commander updates that they were going to do. That they accidentally published it in 318 or 318 and said it was supposed to be for 319. But
sure, but everything changes.
Yes.
Like talk to Jake. If it's not on the roadmap on the release view,
it's not planned. Yeah,
it's not planned. Yeah.
But my point being, I agree with all of you, and I think we're all in agreement that this is going to be a tire fire of epic proportions. This is not going to be a playable game. 318 is going to they're going to do their best to make it as stable.
This is going
and
to be the
as
Sims world of a patch.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It is, but it is going to be a terrible experience for all involved. And I am a little concerned that CIG might want to push this out for a free flight if they release it towards the end of the year.
God.
Because that would be terrible. It would be great for data.
Yes.
Terrible for the new player experience.
No. Whoever thinks that free flies are good for data and not for the optics of the game, Jesus Christ. No, you put a stable patch for free fly, God damn it.
Absolutely. Yes. I get the free flight gets so many more people in and you get lots of data, but it's also for a lot of people their first experience.
Show them the new shiny, but if the new shiny is behind a wall of bugs and fire, it's no.
Yep. Please, CIG. Yeah. The shock and horror in both Darjanator and Old Man Hurston is palpable. It is. Yeah. Please.
We're seasoned veterans when it comes to CIG's handling of such things. We know where they're
and we know they'll likely do it, but please.
Sorry, someone in chat is realizing that I'm also the astro historian. Yes, I am. I am both. I guess people now know this is one of those situations where there's so many new people coming into the universe that they find me on the Astro Historian and go, wait, is this the Astro Historian too? Are you the AstroPub? It's like, yes, Paul Shelley.
in the verse, Paul is gonna have the best museum merged with pub ever.
Yes,
yeah.
He's
not gonna have a gift shop. He's gonna have a pub.
You exit through the pub,
and it's going to have the best decor. It's going to be ostentatious and over the top because he works for Old Man Hurston, so it's going to be Hurston decor everywhere.
Gold everywhere.
Yes, all gold. Gold everywhere.
Okay. Well, thank you, Pharaoh. But I think that's a good kind of discussion.
God help us trying to set that up, though, Paul. God help us trying to set that pub up.
Yeah. But so many people are going to steal from that. But the overall, I think, opinion, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong with y'all's opinion, is that PES is vital. We need it for the future. So what are things that we need? How is this going to affect the game in the long term? We're talking like 4.0 and beyond. Why is PES important? I'll start with you, Darj, on this one.
Things will remain where you left them. It's like, that is the foundation of what PES enables. So, and that will allow more items to be persistent. Like recently, I went to the Pride of Arliss, and I stole the physicalized spotlights that are in the that are all over the ship. And I put them in my Avenger, and I flew them all over the verse. And you can use them. They shine a bright light, and they're very good for taking nice screenshots. But as soon as I logged out, they were gone. It's like, yeah. So many things that you see at outposts that you think, oh yeah, I should be able to take that. It's like it's just there. It's like the power drill or the tool set or whatever it is, but it's just bolted down.
Water.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's the same. It's the same asset as the bottle of water you buy at the shop and you drink from, but it's just not interactable. All of that, it'll allow us to interact with. And as soon as we have ability to start messing with people, oh my God, I love that so much. Like someone logs out on your ship and you fill it with all the junk that you've been collecting for the past couple of months.
You HE vertigo all over the place, as you're saying. You open up your inventory and then vomit everything you have into there.
And it'll persist. When they come back, they will be buried under a mountain of Finleys, and then it's like, yes, I want that.
But we also need a way for it to disappear and be cleaned up, which is what was also talked about. Because I can also see, you go to a cave, you fill it with Finleys. How does that if that's persisting permanently, how does that impact gameplay? The next person fires up, you come into the area, all those items are going to have an impact on server
Start
function.
glitching the physics so much.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of months ago, Terada filled a 300i with like 150 Finleys. Everyone on the server with him, no matter what their computer configuration was, in single-digit frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And I
because
can
the server
remember,
couldn't handle it.
and I can remember way back when at Olisar, we used to do 10-pin bowling with reclaimers set up as the pins and using a Starfarer as the ball. And the second you had 9 reclaimers set up, the whole server tanked.
Mhm.
And people,
That is a lot better now.
so,
'Cause
yeah,
you
it would
have
handle it
ship
a lot
meets
better
with
now. But
50
yeah,
ships everywhere, and people are just fine. Yeah, but that is just 50 ships. It's not 150 ships. Oh
yeah.
God, they increase the player count.
Yeah.
But when is the first 100 ship meet gonna happen? It
It's
hasn't
already
happened
happened.
yet.
It's already happened.
100
Yeah.
ship meet?
100 ship meet. It's already happened. It's fine. This has destroyed
Fine?
everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Well, you got to
But
remember that
so
they also,
things.
the thing is to remember as well that like a lot of this stuff is also connected to the streaming service. So right now, things if you have 100 ships, as long as all players are outside of their ships, the inside of the ships don't matter. They're just mostly stayed in the background, so it's not as much issue.
Unless it's an 890 jump that has glass everywhere.
But the aspects of the ships that you don't see is going to be stored on the server. Now that will take a hit for the server. So the AI in that server is probably like their reaction time is, you hit them and then 5 years later they decide to respond to you, kind of situation. It probably destroyed the server, but for the players who were playing it, it wasn't so bad. And that's the other thing to knowing the differences.
But and then when server meshing comes into play, when there's a ship meet, the ship meet will be on that one specific server, and everything else, if one other player wants to go on a UGF mission, they'll have the AI all to themselves.
Yeah. And the AI doesn't care
will
about
be
them.
really, really good and super fast. And
yeah, that's gonna be scary.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the way AI is now because my FPS game skills aren't that sharp anymore.
Well, imagine how old man Hurston feels with his slow reactive time. So
I imagine old man Hurston has staff handling that thing.
His staff. He has people that deals with that. Yeah.
Well, he'd like to hope he's got people. No, he's at least got one. He's got a barkeep.
He tells other people at the country club that he has people.
That's right. That's all. I'll get my people to talk to your people, but no one's ever seen his people apart from
Al.
seeing Paulie.
Speaking of Al, what do you think is like the long-term ramifications of PES, like 4.0 and beyond? What is PES going to enable or do for the players?
I think it really does open up gameplay loops. As Darj was saying, it enables you to mess with people. So just to go even further, you've hidden your box of Widow in a place. Now, Widow, you'd expect over time, if you leave it long enough, will deteriorate. It'll break down. If it breaks down and you go back, is the question, has it broken down or has someone stolen it? Did someone find your stash and take it, or did you not get back in time because the dealer's gone? So, or time is gone. So there'll be all of those types of aspects as well. You won't necessarily know whether someone's stolen, unless it's something okay, this I know persists for long term. I've gone back, it's gone. Like a cup should persist less than, say, the gun. So you go there, the cup's gone, but the gun's still there. Did someone steal your gun?
I would like the cleanup to be contextual. In populated areas where there's actual cleanup crew, sure, they want to keep it pristine, but a pile of junk in the middle of a forest nobody goes to, it's like, maybe you can find a deer that's munching on some Finleys, but other than that, they should remain there.
Well, we do have
But they also
they
should.
have
You have to
Um,
balance it. You have to balance it with gameplay, and you have to balance
Yeah.
it with server performance, of course. But yeah,
well, we've also got the critter that the little crab, the gas crab that
Blind Oni
eats
crab.
all the rubbish,
Yeah, it literally
which
eats
eats
everything.
which eats everything. So if you got on a planet,
there we
it's
go.
flourishing on Hurston. It's
Yeah,
flourishing on Hurston.
Oh yes, of course it would. But yeah, the garbage biomes.
it's the
So
Metroid looking thing.
see, people say the Hurstons are really destroying the environment, but no, they're looking after the crab. It's a crab reserve.
The flying Hindenburg crabs, because they all float on hydrogen gas. So one
That's right,
spark,
they're full of gas.
they're full of gas, and they fly in pods. So you blow up one, you're going to blow up a lot more, and that chain reaction is going to be seen from orbit.
So the question for you all is: are the Hurstons secretly developing a hydrogen farm?
That's right. That's the secret. They're
With all
using.
these crabs on the planet, are they secretly harvesting hydrogen from these crabs too?
Well, they have to power their fleet somehow.
Yeah.
You know,
That-
so
that-
and
that-
they
that
do
would-
like spewing the rubbish out. So yeah.
All right.
That's
I-
not as dumb as you may think you're putting it.
No. It's harvesting. Well, you just have to find a way of extracting the hydrogen without blowing them up or
Yep.
spooking them. You know, because they do produce hydrogen
I
naturally.
understand that. That's the problem we're having at the moment. Just working out how to get that hydrogen out of those little critters. But
Yeah.
I have also heard if you cook them right, they're good eating.
They taste very good.
And they
Apparently.
provide their own fuel for the fire.
Yeah. So there you
They're
go.
very. I hear they make you very gassy.
Mm.
So the HC's Vertigo joke for you. All right. I'll less
Someone has to channel HC Vertigo when he's on.
someone has to. I'll add my last little 2 cents and we'll move on to the question and answer session. PES as a pillar supports everything. It is. I call it the load bearing gameplay feature or gameplay edition because without PES or something like PES, because we had iCache as we mentioned and then had to go away. Without that, you cannot have server meshing. You can't have quanta. You can't have more players per server. It needs you wouldn't be able to have anything. In a way that you'd expect for a typical game, let alone an MMO. So, it is 4.0. It'll allow for server meshing, and beyond, it'll allow for things like being able to explore, being able to log out, and see your ship, despawn and come back in. You'll be able to have persistent statuses and lots of other persistence-based issues, including building bases. You want to build a base? You can't have a base without PES or something like that. It is the first.
A base, you can't.
Yeah,
If you want to blow a door off a base, it needs to be there. So
exactly, it is the first step in the direction of Star Citizen as a game. And as we've all said, this first step is going to be less of a step and more of a slip and fall on your face. More than likely, you're going to be crawling through less of a step and more of a crawling through broken glass.
Yeah, I think, and I think Darj would agree here because I'm pretty certain he said it. Please, CIG, make this a PTU until it's stable. Make it an open access PTU to everyone until it's stable and we've got it right.
I think they've done that.
And give us a live lifeboat, or
Mm-hmm.
give us a life raft in the live version, but PTU live to everyone until it's out.
That was the other thing. Someone mentioned elevators, and I wanted to add this as another expectation. This will be worse than 317 too.
Oh.
Even when it's live, it's going to be worse than your current experience.
I went on a YouTube rabbit hole about how elevators work in video games, and oh my god, is it one of the worst things in video games is moving through maps without actually moving through maps. Like with your as an item taking your character and moving it from one location to another. It's a lot easier to move the entire map than it is to do that, and that is why most games, when you're in an elevator, like in Half-Life 2, you go into an elevator, you push a button, the engine moves the world around you, and you remain still.
Yeah.
It's like the engines in the ship engines in Futurama.
Yeah, for Planet Express ship. Yeah.
Yeah, Planet Express ship. Yeah. So hopefully they get it figured out, like a single system for elevators that works for inside ships, inside stations, transitioning from inside ships out to outside ships. Everybody knows what a 600i elevator does right now. Jesus Christ.
Eldritch elevator.
Everyone
I
knows what
forgot.
every
I
elevator does
actually
right now.
forgot until I was playing on someone's 600i and I took the elevator while they were quantuming, and then all of a sudden I was in atmosphere, falling.
Yeah.
Yep. So, question, Paul.
Yeah.
Which is related to what you're saying. Will it be 2.0 bad?
No. I don't think it won't be 2.0 bad. I don't think it'll be 3.0 bad. It'll be better than both of those, but it'll be similar in terms of those situations. Nothing is going to be bad. 3.0 is not as bad as 2.0. And this won't be as bad as 3.0, and 4.0 won't be as bad as 3.18. It always is getting better. I think there's still also a degree of understanding that this patch is likely not going to be a patch you want to jump onto when it releases, if you're a person who is very sensitive to bugs. Now, Star Citizen as a whole has got that problem. But if you are a person who says, this elevator frustrates me and it killed me twice, I'm not going to play the game for until the next patch, probably wait till 3.19 or 4.0 or come back in 2 years, because we're likely going to be there.
1 may actually fix
some of those
a lot of
issues.
those bugs. Yeah. So don't play the major patch releases.
No.
Play the intermediates.
Yeah, because those will be lower population and usually better patch fixing. So,
and at present, if you're in an Argo, talking elevators, if you're in an Argo, what's their new one? The
raft.
The raft. Don't go up to the top floor. You go up to the top floor, you can't get out because the lift is broken. It will not. You can't interact with it. You can't go back down.
Well, you can take the stairs, right? The ladder.
Is there a ladder for the top floor?
I couldn't see the ladder. I'll have to go looking for it again. I went wandering around.
It's I think it's in the room where the airlock is, at the front. So you go
on the top floor. There is no airlock.
No.
You go into a room.
In the bottom floor, you get to the left where the airlock is. But if instead of going forward through the airlock, if you go back, there's a ladder going upwards.
I'll have to have a look for that, because I couldn't find it. I was in there the other day.
Yeah, there is a ladder. There is a ladder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know the other way out, you have to go up the airlock door to.
Yeah.
All
right, y'all.
So it's a messy mess. Yes.
That's our discussion on PES, and we're going to be moving right along to the question and answer session. The chat's already asked a bunch of questions. We're going to be answering them live here on Twitch. If you want to join us live, come join us on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, where we on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub to join us for these discussions. Again, live on Twitch. And if you're watching this after the fact, obviously, if you watch this on YouTube, there'll be a link right above Al with the next episode, which should be already out, ready for your consumption. You can grab that and you can listen to it right away.
And if you're a mobile, the link is in the video description.
It is in the description. Does mobile links don't work anymore? Oh, well.
Mobile doesn't do the cards.
They don't? Oh. Well, yeah, it'll be in the description as well.
And if you're a law lover, keep your eyes open for Law Citizen Podcast, because that will be also having more episodes soon.
Yes. Law Citizen Podcast at youtube.com/TheAstroHistorian for that kind of stuff. Join us, of course, Al and myself at the youtube.com/InfoRunners. And catch Darj and myself at youtube.com/TheSpiceMustRoll for more content and such. If you like space and sci-fi stuff, I've got lots of channels for you. And with that all being said,
it's a 3D printed Titan.
It is. I see it. I like it, and it's gold's printed too. Yeah.
Yeah, because from the trophy room.
Yeah, from the trophy room. You got to hit that with
He's already rated the bar. He's already rated your pub.
Yes. And like I say every time,
where they were.
You haven't stolen, have you? You took it away for polishing and cleaning.
Yes, that's exactly what he's doing. That all being said, thank you all. Like I say every time, thank you all for watching. And I screwed up. Now Darsh just made me screw up on the whole thing. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.